Hello, everybody. I'd like to share with you what I learned while I took care of my parents for the last 5 years of their life. I, my soul had a calling to take care of them, and for me, it was an honor to have this opportunity to spend time with them because I and went and lived with them in another state for 3 months, and then my brother or his wife would come in. Sit in so that I could have some time off. As the time and their need became greater, my brother stepped in and we would cycle in and out of my parents' home every 3 months. While one took a break, the other one would take care of mom and dad. But this was a great opportunity for me to study the dying process. I've been fascinated with it since my own near-death experience and understanding all that occurs and the unusual things that are real. So I asked my parents if they would share with me everything they saw, sensed, felt, experienced during their dying process, and they agreed. They signed contracts with me so that I could share these experiences if they were helpful to others, and I believe this is. I've always heard that when people get close to dying, they often want to go home, and that was the case for my dad. It was not the case for my mom, but my dad would, as things got closer, uh, his final days, he started saying he wanted to go home, although he was already in his home, and he thought he meant his earthly home. Um, and we would have to show him the house from the front door because his knees had given out and he was in a wheelchair and I could only do so much with him. So I would roll him to the front door and let him see the front of the house. Or he would oftentimes want to, um, make sure that the car was in the garage. This started well, three years before his death. So this kind of thing, when I this first happened, I'd heard about it. So I thought, is this it? Is this the time that he's indicating that it's time for him to go? But this started occurring a good 3.5 years before his death. And as he got closer, his soul knew he was leaving. And so I think this is why he kept saying he wanted to go home. He would be sitting in his recliner and, say, when are we going to go home? Because he didn't recognize the house at that point. Although he was not ever diagnosed with dementia. And for the most part, he had all of his faculties about him. It was just periodically that he would have these episodes of not recognizing his house. Although I found it very interesting that even though he didn't recognize his house, he recognized his furniture. And he was always the caretaker of the family. So there was one evening where he was sitting in his recliner and he wanted to know how much he was being charged for us staying in this house and when was it going to be time to go home. Well, we told him it was his house and he wasn't being charged. And then pretty soon he said, well, how much are we being charged for them to bring our furniture here? Because he recognized his furniture. Uh, but we finally were able to let him know that we felt he was talking about going home to heaven, not his earthly home. These occasions happened quite frequently as it neared. Dad would even hobble out to the kitchen. He would get a grocery sack, and he would come back into the living room, and he said, Norma's my mom's name, Norma, they're coming to get us. We better get ready. So he would start putting his items that he wanted to take with him in the grocery sack. He took the living room phone which we had to tell him that this was not a cell phone. It still had to stay on the charger. He also took his toothpicks. That was important to him to have his toothpicks. Um, but these things started again 3 years before his death. There was one evening where he didn't recognize the house, and so my sister took him. He wanted to go home. He wanted to go home, so my sister put him in the car, and she took him to the church where he recognized the church because he was the property manager and was very active in his church there in Idaho. And then she had a talk with him and said, you know, Dad, do you believe that this is not necessarily you wanting to go to your earthly home because you were in your earthly home? Was it heaven? And he agreed, and that made sense, and that calmed him down for the entire evening. So I thought I'd pass along this information to you because if it happens to you, I wanted to also tell you that one night he was sitting at the dining room table and he asked mother, he says, Mother, when are we going home? And she said, we are home. And I pointed out certain things because I had just made them dinner and we had just eaten. And I asked him, what does it look like to you? I was curious. I wanted to know what it looked like. And he looked at the fireplace and he was kind of puzzled and because it was hard for him to explain. And I said, Dad, does it look like you're looking in from another dimension? And he gasped and he said, that's it. That's what it looks like. So I really believe that part of these memory losses that the seniors have that are sometimes referred to as dementia or, you know, slight dementia, um, are moments where the soul is trying to work out of the body and it's looking in from another dimension because we do extend within our body, and as time comes closer the soul does want to escape. So I believe these episodes are somewhat the soul working its way out of the body. And that's why its vision of this earthly life is different than it is when it's in the body. So I thought I'd pass that along to you. That's what I believe. And if anybody wants to pick up and run with that, I'd love to hear other people's thoughts and opinions about these things. So thank you for watching my video, and I will have more videos to come about the other things that I've learned. Uh, Good evening and have a nice day. Bye.